Hey everyone, it's season 3, episode 41 of the SurgeCast, and I'm Kat.
I'm Zach.
And as you can tell from my opener, we're a little tired.
Yeah, just to say the least, just a very emotional night last night and late night going to bed and stuff like that because all the
And it
feelings.
just all the feelings, and it was a very just emotional series in general. Honestly, I know we haven't been, in your ear for the past couple weeks as the series has gone on, but trust me,
Yeah,
we have been fully involved in this series, and that is another reason why we're very tired. Where me going to home games, watch parties, and Zach, I think you guys have heard he also writes about hockey. So
yeah, and also on Locked On Hurricanes 5 days a week, and then also being at Game 3, covering the game in person too. So yeah, it's a lot. And I know, like Cats, I know we haven't really recorded a lot just because we're both super busy with, you know, life stuff and other, all the other projects we got going on. So we are, we are sorry about that. It's just life.
oh man.
but, but we are back. Yeah, like Kat said, we are back for this episode. I know the last time we talked was basically previewing the series. So I guess,
Yep.
and there, I mean, there is a lot to talk about, but for the sake of people who I know want us to keep these nice and sweet and short, looking at you, Howie. Appreciate you and the Fancy Duck Boys, but yeah, not a super long episode today, to say the least. Gonna try to,
If we want to take anything that we've said and still be able to be like we were right, we did predict the number of games. We just had the wrong winner, unfortunately. So we still got you on that, Bailey. Sorry.
yeah, still got you in six. Just unfortunately, the wrong team didn't get the six. But hey, her Canes in seven. For a while, looked like it was going to make sense the way the Hurricanes were coming back,
I was
but
honestly rooting for her prediction to be true.
that
Um,
would have been epic on so many proportions. Would have just been absolutely insane. But
yeah, but you know what? Keeping this short and sweet, let's get into this last series with the Rangers, who have now become, I guess, what feels like our new Boston Bruins of getting through the playoffs. Unfortunately,
yeah, pretty much. Because I think the last time we played them was they beat us in Game 7. I forget what playoffs that was. It was what 20? Was it 22? I can't remember now. I don't know. It's all a blur the last
all
few
I want to
years.
say, and in reference to a great movie, is I'm tired of this grandpa.
Well, that's just too dang bad.
um,
Oh man.
oh man,
I mean,
this is this. Sorry,
guy, you know,
so many thoughts. This
honestly,
series,
real quick though,
look at us.
big shout out to Jimmy and from the blue seats, GG's to his boys. Gotta give credit to where it's due. Just
This
is one of those things.
I don't know what this series. This series, I mean, the Florida series last season was just as frustrating. But for some reason, this one was even worse because I feel like this one, it wasn't like you couldn't score. It was like you didn't get the bat for the first couple of games. Like the boys just didn't seem to get bounces.
Yeah.
Because there were multiple people, and I'm not saying this is like a delusional Kings fan. Like there are multiple people saying this series should not actually be 3-0, or it could easily be 3-0 the other way. It could easily be tied to 2. Like there was multiple people being like, the series,
Oh,
it's literally any way you could throw it. Like it's a toss
uh,
of the dice.
no. I mean, Mike Maniscalco and Shane Wolf both on like the last two episodes of Kings Cast literally said this series could have gone in the Hurricanes' favor 3-0 or 1 or 2-1 or 2-2 is just because, like you said, Kat, just bounces. Like literally, Artemi Panarin scored a goal in Game 3 in overtime off a deflection. Like every game was close. The only game that was kind of out of reach was the Hurricanes' Game 5 win where they won 4-1. Other than
Yeah.
that, every game outside of, well, yes, last night they did lose by 2 goals, but it was an empty netter, so technically it was one. But you know how that usually is with technicalities and stuff like that. But the rest of the series was close.
I
Multiple
mean,
overtimes, multiple 1-goal games. It's just, and then How many posts did they hit last night? 4 in the third period alone? Like,
oh my gosh, so many. So we rolling on back. So we got to go to the first game, of course, in New York. Get beat 4-3. All right. So you probably had to seal a game in New York. All right. And this game, it started out not great in the first period. So you're down 3-1. I mean, at first it was back to back. You get a goal from Zibanejad, you get a goal from Slavin, you're back to back. And then as the period closes out, you get a couple of daggers that you're like, "Ugh, down 3-1 in the first. That's not great." But if there's any period to be down, take the first because you've got the second and the third. I will say the Canes, me and our friend Colin had a little bit of a disagreement because during playoffs, during some of the games, he was like, "Well, this is the second period. Canes are a second period team." And I was like, "Have you been watching them?"
They are absolutely not. They're absolutely not. Except for last night.
Yeah, except for last night. But what's interesting is that we were actually both right. If you looked at the stats for the Canes in the season, they actually scored a lot of goals in the second. They did really well in the regular season in the second period. Come playoffs, we were not a second period team. So I was correct, and I was like, I don't have high hopes for the second period right now. And he was correct in saying, but we've had success there. So we have, unfortunately, it wasn't in playoffs most of the time.
It was definitely
we are always a third period team. But
first and third period is basically our bread and butter. It's like you got the 2 slices of bread as your first and third, and a lot of nothing in the second. Whatever contents of the sandwich was just not right for whatever
Which
reason.
is what the first game was, because there wasn't anything else in the second. And then, of course, you get Natchez in there to get a little bit of life, and then unfortunately Panarin scores, and then you get Jarvis to close it out. So you had all the momentum to try to get back into that game. Again, it was only a 1-goal game. They had their opportunities. It was just beyond frustrating. Like, it was just beyond frustrating. So then you're like, all right, so we're gonna lose one. Like, you always were thinking you're gonna lose one in New York. All right. That's a hard place to play in for the Canes. It's a hard place to play in for anyone.
Yeah.
The next one, the fact that it's the same freaking score and it was in overtime. So annoying. Even more annoying because here, again, the Rangers scored first, but we answered quickly. Gensel and Orlov. Gensel showed out. This is why we got him for the playoffs. This is like, he started doing his star quality things. And so, unfortunately, Lafreniere for the Rangers was having a heck of a playoffs. I don't know about a season as much, but he was having a heck of a playoffs as well. And so you've got him kind of going back and forth, and then you go into 2 overtimes.
Oy,
give it to the boys for multiple overtimes every playoffs. I mean,
it was. Yeah, I was doing a stream with Jay from Jay Jackets and Jimmy from the Blue Seats, and man, that was a just trying to go through that live stream with those guys. It was a lot of fun, but man, that double overtime game took forever. I think I got like 3 hours of sleep going into work the next day because I had to record for Locked On, which was so much fun.
Unfortunately, we lose that game, and it sucks because again you go to double overtime, and I honestly had the thoughts during that one. I was like, I'm having flashbacks to Florida last year, and that's the worst kind of flashbacks. Like, it was like PTSD.
Yeah, that's why I said during the game too. I'm getting some bad flashbacks of Game 1 last year in the Eastern Conference Final. I was like, please don't go to quadruple. I even said if this game goes to triple overtime, I'm going to bed. Like, screw this. I'm not staying up for another period.
So, unfortunately, this was the beginning of Trocheck's villain era.
Yeah, he has definitely put him up there in the echelon of Eric Holla. Like, okay.
So I did tweet during, it wasn't, I don't think it was this game. I think it was
one of them.
The third or the fourth game. I think it
was game 3. Yeah, it was game 3.
And I literally tweeted Trocheck equals Holla. And for like non-Canes fans, like a lot of them are like, oh no, Trocheck is so much better than Holla, like comparing their play. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what the tweet is. And for some people being like, well, what else could you be referencing? I'm like, if you don't get it, then the tweet wasn't obviously meant for you, but that's fine.
Yeah, it's like
no, it was context. he was always he was always an instigator. He also was on our team, but in my opinion, he has fully embraced the Ranger side of it. Like I think the Rangers just instigate in a way that Florida does it pretty well too, but they instigate in a way that's just like you have him instigating with Brent Burns. All right, most people don't start with Brent Burns because he's a giant lumberjack on the ice who outside of the arena could probably kill you, bury you in the woods, and no one would ever see you ever again.
Yeah.
But the fact that, and we'll talk about this in the next game, but the fact that whatever he did, first of all, he was going after Aho the whole time, which makes sense. You go after star players. But whatever he did, got Brent Burns and Jacob Slavin to go at him. I don't trust whatever's being said is not good because those are two guys on the ice that typically separate fights. Like Burns will kind of step up and like maybe shove here and there, but he actively went after Trocheck, and Slavin wasn't pulling people away. He literally went in and was also actively going after people. And I'm like,
that's saying a lot. If you get Jacob Slavin upset for him to get into a little bit of a shouting match, yeah, you must have really did something wrong to get him mad.
Like that man has literally had interviews where he's just like, I'm here to play hockey. Like I tune out what's on the ice. I just play. I let my play speak for me, and we're just gonna go from that. Like he's like, yeah, it's a lot on the ice, but he's like, and guys on them make fun of him because he doesn't curse. He'll like say other things, and the guys are like, just say it. And he's like, no, I don't care. Like that's not me on the ice. So for him to actively go after you, I'm just like, what did you say? How much of a bitch were you being for Jacob Slavin to try to fight you on the ice?
Well, and the fact that you're talking about a former teammate too, because Terrell was there for like what three seasons, maybe a little bit more. I forget how long. I think it was probably 3 seasons. Yeah, so that must have been something. Yeah, I mean, you saw it all from game 3 on through game 6. Those two just like Burns and Trocheck hated.
He popped him in the face the last game, which was fantastic. But
yeah.
So you go to game 3. And you're back at home, and you're like, all right, so we really needed to steal one of those games in New York. You didn't get to, especially the overtime one.
Mm-hmm.
Do I think you call that penalty in the overtime one at the end of it? No, but, it's just.
You know what? Talk about penalties real quick. How insane was it for the fact that you saw 15 power plays for the Hurricanes in the first 3 games? Like what we always talk about, Kat. Welcome to the postseason. Things are going to get called. And then from game 4 through game 6, there was like maybe 10 penalties total in 3 games. In the first 3, the Hurricanes had 15 power plays alone, and the Rangers had 9, 10 on their own. Like they were just almost calling everything for the first 3 games of the series. Like it was,
it felt like
you never see that. Like what?
And I guess the guys didn't know what to do with it because they were like, I don't know, maybe we should shoot on the power play. The power play.
2 for 22, 23? I don't even know at this point. I lost count.
So with the power play, I know we complain about it all the time, but they figured it out this season. They figured it out. All right. I don't think the coaching changed. I don't think the coaching changed in playoffs. Something in the mentality of the players changed, and they weren't shooting.
They got very tentative. They got very pass heavy and perimeter heavy. And what do we see in their comebacks in games 4 and 5, and what we saw in game 6 too? What do we see a lot more of as those games went on? Net front presence, crash the net. Yeah, they played the first 3 games was way too much perimeter. They weren't crashing the net. They weren't getting buys in front. Game 4,
Rod talked about it. Rod was like, "Yeah, that's not going to work." Like, I don't think that's Rod. I don't think that's on the coaching staff. I think it's on the players.
Yeah,
it's on the players.
That's the coach. The coach can only tell you so much, and then you saw it. Like you saw Bray Shea get moved up to PP1 in game 4, scored the game winner on the power play. You saw, I think it was Jake Gensel get moved out of the power play 1 as well. So you saw some switching. They scored 2 power play goals in the series. You would love to get more, especially when you go 2 for 20 something. But it's just the mentality didn't help, and like I said, a lot of perimeter early on. And then you finally saw them crash in net with Steph Nason scoring in Game 4, net front. You saw Seth Jarvis with the screen to get the game winner. Game 5 was it Jordan Staal, Evgeny Kuznetsov, all net front presence goals. Even in Game 6, what did you see? You saw another net front presence goal from Martin Each because he crashed the net.
Jarvis.
Basically almost crashed the net and scored the way he did too. And it's just kind of like you finally saw what worked. The perimeter wasn't working. They finally started crashing. They got the net front presence that they really needed to do.
It was working before that too. Like
that's what I'm saying.
His goals in front of the net, so it made no sense why they weren't shooting. And
too pass heavy. They got too pass heavy. And they were trying to get too perfect with it. And it's like you just.
And I know we're saying get a power play coach, but at that point, it's not on the coach. I don't think it's on the players because they had figured it out, and then they regressed into a mindset of we got to get the perfect shot, and it's like no, you don't. And especially
too pass heavy.
There was also some talk here where they were like, well, maybe they were getting intimidated by Igor, and I'm like, why? Gensel just scored on a tip in front of him. A couple plays before you even had the power play, and the power play you don't want to do the same thing again. Like, why would you not do what works?
How many opportunities did you see where a guy had a perfect shot and instead of just shooting the puck at the net and just trying to see what happens, they would try to find a pass on a cross crease or a back pass. I swear back passes are going to be the end of me, but yeah, they got too tentative with their shots. They second guessed themselves instead of just putting the pucks on net. They were like, "Oh, I got to pass the puck." No, just shoot. But if you put pucks on net, good things happen. It's just that's unfortunate what you saw, and luckily they figured it out for games 4 and 5, and someone in game 6. But just putting yourself down 3-0 doesn't help.
Yeah. So game 3 was a little bit of a heartbreaker. That one it went to overtime, but it felt a little bit like that multiple overtime with Florida because it was a little bit of we were right there. So you're down 2-1, and you get playoff stretch, who everyone had been calling for all playoffs, all last year. You get playoff stretch coming in clutch at the very end.
Yep.
You get into overtime, and you get that nasty bounce off the boards, and you're just a little too slow to get there, and it beats them. That wasn't on Piotr. It wasn't on Piotr. It wasn't on Piotr at all. That easily could have gone the other way. It easily could have been on the other end and done that same bounce and done it. Yeah. That's the kind of bounce that in previous seasons that we had gotten from a Foss's Game series winner, where you'd gotten from what's his name that beat the Isles?
Now. Paul Stastny.
Yeah, it's like those bounces, but this one went against us, and you're like, that's a back breaker because you're at home. You're like, I'm gonna win the games at home. That's how it's supposed to go.
You know what that Panarin goal, that deflection in front of the net, you know what that reminded me of? The deflection against Pierre Kachekov in the 1-0 game where the Rangers won off the puck, went off of Brady Shea skating into the net. Almost the exact same place, almost the exact same way. It was kind of off the stick, but also off the foot of Panarin. Goes past Piotr. Honestly, he played a great game, and I know a lot of people. I've already been seeing it since game 4. Saw it after game 5. Saw it after game 6 last night. Seeing it this morning. A lot of people are questioning why Piotr only played 1 game in the playoffs. Freddie, for the most part, did fine. Yeah, I mean, he did let in a lot of soft goals in the last few games.
All right, we're gonna talk a second about the goaltending. We're gonna talk a second. All right.
I mean, to be fair, he did, but he also played good as well. Let's recount our history here. All right. Last season, Freddie is unavailable for playoffs. You have Piotr, you have Ranta. No, that was 2 seasons ago. We did have Freddie last year.
Oh my gosh, this is how tired I am.
Yeah, it was 2. Yeah, because 2 seasons ago he got hurt against the Avalanche in Colorado 2 weeks before the playoffs, and it was Ranta and Piotr. We did have Freddie last year because Freddie went absolutely off in the Florida series. I think he had a sub 2 goals against average last playoffs. He played great, and nothing you can do when you had Bobrovsky on the other side. But yeah, so we did have Freddie last year. Yeah,
but he was also out a little bit this season. Okay, so playoff Freddie. So first of all, we're going back a little further than I thought, then, because I'm starting there. So you don't have him. You don't have him for the playoffs.
2 years ago, yeah.
And so then 2 years ago, and you have Ronta and you have Piotr. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's like, well, is it playoff Freddie? He's just getting hurt all the time. But everyone's like, maybe the difference would have been Freddie. If we had Freddie, maybe we would have done better. Mm-hmm. Last season we have Freddie. For some reason, Bob becomes otherworldly, and literally nothing. Like, it doesn't matter how good your goaltending is because
after
Bob the wall.
Yeah, so, after you relied on Alex Line to get you to the playoffs, but
come into this season and you're like, this is great. Like, we've got all of our players. See how it's going to go. Freddie goes out. The little bit of time Freddie's out, you've got Ronta and Piotr. And Ronta is having a little bit of difficulty. Piotr's getting a lot more workload than anyone pictured. Even, like, because you think if he's going to transition, at least he'll transition into, like, a 1B, like a second. Like, he's not going to be the main workhorse. No, he got a lot of the work right away.
Mm-hmm.
Got a lot of the workload right away. So then people start being like, oh, Piotr, he's really struggling. Like, I really wish we had Freddie back. Like, that was the conversation for weeks. I really wish we had Freddie back. I really wish we had Freddie back. Piotr's not it right now. Piotr's not it. All of this stuff. So then you're like, oh, man, we really need it. We can't rely on getting Freddie back. We really need a goalie at the deadline. At the deadline. Or right before. We get Martin, all right? Martin does fantastic. And then we're like, you know what? We're pretty good. They solved it. And then Freddie came back. All right. So now Freddie's back, playing fantastic. All of a sudden, we're like, all right, we're good with Piotr again. He's fine. But Freddie's doing amazing. So we're like, we're great. We've got multiple goalies to handle playoffs with, all of this. We get into playoffs. I don't think, maybe Freddie let in like a couple of squeakers. I'm sorry. Did you see the other night where Swayman got beat 6-1 and got pulled? It happens to everyone.
Yeah, no, it really does. I mean, the Canucks are on their third goalie. The Predators didn't do very much for Saros. Edmonton has no goalies. Let's be honest. I don't know. The only reason why they're there is because of their offense.
The weeks of Piotr, who's just surviving because he went from having two veterans to help him out and ease him into being a full-time goalie into being the main goalie all by himself. You start calling for his head a little bit. You're waiting for Freddie to come back. You're like, we really need a goalie change. You get Martin. Everyone's not impressed. Martin steps up and is like, hey, I can actually play goal when you give me a defense. Does great. Freddie comes back. Everyone's like, oh, I'm so excited. Freddie's back. So Freddie starts doing amazing. You're like, this was actually supposed to be our first goalie. We're going to play him most of the time now. We've been going back and forth because, yes, he's transitioning off of being out for a while, and that's a lot of work. So we're going back and forth with that. But when you come to playoffs, he's the hot goalie. He is going to start. That's how it's always been. Like, yes, during the regular season, we go back and forth. During playoffs, you typically ride with one goalie a little bit more.
Yep.
Freddie did not do anything. Like, I feel like Freddie did most of the work. A lot of the stuff is, the bounces. Maybe he let in a few goals. The team did not play Carolina hockey all of that time in front of him. So, and then for people to be like, well, man, we really should have given Piotr a chance. Man, we should have seen Piotr more. Man, why did we start with Freddie? And it's like, just a few weeks ago, you were so excited Freddie was back. And a few weeks before that, you were upset with how Piotr was playing. So, like, do you flip-flop? Guys, like, goalies can go one way or another. Look across the goalies across the league, too. Do not say, well, this goalie, Swayman has been amazing. He got ran out of net 6-1. Talked about Igor forever. Igor he was squeaky, very squeaky this game, couple of games. He let out some great leaks that if we had actually crashed the net and followed up on, we would have covered. There were ones last night on game 6. We scored the third goal on him. He literally looked defeated to the point where we shot one, it hit the post, hit the back of him, and he was freaking out. Like, he was shaken. If we hadn't given them other goals, you could have got more on him. I don't think he outplayed Freddie. I think they got better bounces than us, and maybe Freddie let in one that I was like, oh, that's not the best. But after that, the Canes kind of fell apart a little bit. And you got stuck on the penalty kill. So, like, there's multiple.
Also too, power play. You can't go 2 for an entire series. You're like, well, he got more than 3 goals scored on in every game. Chessie almost got more than 4. Like, literally, you got 3 on Chessie most games. All right, so they beat us by 1 goal. Yeah, I mean, you talk about game 5. I mean, the Hurricanes put 4 past them, and Freddie only gave up. Freddie had a 9.52 save percentage in game 5. He gave up 1 goal that game, and that was a shorthanded marker to Trouba. Outside of a bad breakdown, and Trouba somehow scored a goal, you were like 1 goal away from a shutout. So it wasn't like he didn't play horribly. Is there maybe a few goals he would like to have back? Yes, but overall, I mean, he had a pretty decent postseason for Freddie. It's just unfortunately, the defense kind of struggled a little bit. The PK gave up a lot of opportunities early on, and the power play kind of disappeared for most of the series.
My point with that, going all the way back there, is that our narrative on the goalies flip flop. Like you, depending on how the team is playing, is how you feel about the goalie, and it's not always the goalie's fault. I do not blame this series on Freddie. I do not. I don't. I think Piotr played fine. Do I know? Like, would it have been different if Piotr played some of these games? Maybe, maybe not, because these games are also highly emotional. And again, he's still a young goalie. Like, he has proven that he can handle those situations.
I mean, he was still getting Calder votes. He was still getting Rookie of the Year votes.
Yeah, and you've also seen where he's got beat on maybe a nasty goal and he's gotten in his head. So, like, it's you could play the what if situation the whole time, but you've been playing the what if situation with the goalies forever, and you're never going to have, like, even goalies that have breakout times. Either there's been goalies where they've been absolutely studs, and the team in front of them does not perform, or that goalie hasn't been a stud all season and then has a run in playoffs. Like, it's just how it goes.
Yeah, like
so
Bobrovsky last year. I mean,
them each time after, it's like pretty much the goalie is not that's not our thing that we need to solve. I don't think that's what got us out of playoffs.
I mean, Linus Ullmark was unworldly last year. This year, he's been all right, and he's been in all playoffs. Bruins fans have been talking about Jeremy Swayman. You look at the Oilers, like they went to Calvin Pickard in their second round matchup against the Canucks after Stuart Skinner struggled. So I mean, it's like there's goaltending issues everywhere. The Leafs had goaltending issues. Samsonov fell apart. Joseph Woll was hurt. He didn't look that great either. And it's just like it's one of those things where, yeah, would you want some goals back? Yes, but there's more to the series than just goaltending. So I can understand people being frustrated, but not all of it's on Freddie. This was a special teams defense whole team issue, not just one guy.
Yes.
And blaming Rod. We need to stop. We need to stop blaming Rod for this stuff.
So before we talk about the Rod stuff too, because that's another issue. If you want to look at their save percentages differences in the games, so like game 1, Igor had a 0.88, Freddie had a 0.826. All right, game 2, Igor had a 0.94, Freddie had a 0.89. Go to game 3. Like, they're right there back and forth with each other. It just depends who wins. Like, that's literally all that matters.
Yeah, pretty much.
They're right there back and forth with each other. And it's just... So anyway, so you lose the heartbreak of game 3. I'm sorry, we'll come back to the Rod thing. You lose the heartbreak of game 3. So everyone's feeling really down. I'm going to be honest, that wasn't my best week because there are multiple things going on. So my team kind of falling apart also had me in a mood. Poor Richie. But you get to game.
Welcome to your first playoffs, bud.
Yeah, he's not going to experience that with Bedard anytime soon. So you get to game 4, and you know what? You're like, you know what? You just really don't want to get swept. You don't. You want to put up a fight, because that was my after game 3. That was my one. I think my big tweet after that was, I'm going to love this team regardless. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to support them, but they have to want it, because there were some times that wasn't looking like they wanted it as much as the Rangers. We would have moments of greatness, but then the Rangers seem to want it just a little bit more.
Yeah.
So you go to game 4 and you get it. You get your power play goal. You
Huge.
start strong. You get the guys that aren't the normal contributors that are little extra depth players and Kuz and Nason contributing. Then you're like, where's our star player? Aho's there, and then you get the power play goal at the end, and you're like, yes, we've cracked it, finally. And so you're feeling good coming off of that, and then you're like, you know what? We're going back to New York. You're wanting to win, but it's like your vibes aren't like super high. Like you're feeling good because you're like, hey, they didn't get to sweep us, but you're having like, however this goes, like I'm thinking it might still be, depending on how we play, it's a crapshoot.
Well, you were also up 3-1 in game 4. You let them tie, then you had to score late to get it. So yeah, it's not how great how you wanted to finish it out, but you got the win, so you survived.
Game 5 didn't start great. You get down a goal, and you're after you had the momentum was all in your favor. You get down a goal. So then it's feeling like, all right, it's an uphill battle. If I lose 1-0, it's really going to suck.
Especially on a shorty.
And then the third period, you go off. I don't want to hear anything else. I don't want to hear anything else about Jordan Staal. I know we love Aho. I know we want him to be captain. All right. That is easily written in what his spot is going to be on this team. Easily. But the passion and the talk that you hear from Aho on the ice and in the interviews and everything, that's great. That's the type of player he is. The type of, you also have your other A's is Slavin and Martinook. Very different players. Slavin's very calm and composed. Definitely is the one that kind of gets people, settled down and being like, let's focus, guys. You just go in and play your game. So you've got the guys that are probably more passionate and very outspoken about it, where you have Aho and Martinook. All right, you've got your passionate players. Great, that's what you need to lead the team. But you also have to get the guys that go in, because we've talked about it before. Aho's great, superstar. There have also been games that he doesn't fully show up. Talking at the beginning of the season, there have been games where he hasn't fully shown up. That's fine. He might get in his head a little bit. That's fine. Not blaming him for that. But you also need players in your the consistency. I'm going to do my job on the ice no matter what, win or lose. And that's what you get with Slavin. That's what you get with Staal. You can't blame Staal for how the team performs. He's not on the penalty kill, which is what was killing us because we were taking those. Not penalty
Jordan
kill.
Power play.
He is on the penalty. Sorry, power play. He's not on the power play.
If you're now in the YouTube version, I can just get you kind of look of wait, time out.
Sorry, the coffee's still kicking in. He's on the penalty kill, but he's not on the power play, which was killing us. But his job was to him and the other team, defense, nonstop. That's what he did. Game 5 showed it even better. He literally put the team on his back and was like,
that goal.
I'm not a scorer, but I'm going to score.
Red Burnmore said it after the game, I'm glad people got to see what Jordan Staal is. And he said that is vintage Jordan Staal. I even had people who are Penguins fans saying that was old school Jordan Staal-like stuff. When he actually gets a chance to show up
strong. He holds guys back with one arm and is like, let me just carry this puck everywhere.
He's got some like silky mitts when he really wants to throw it out there. It's very sneaky how he is able to do some dekes like he did. The fact that he got around a Ranger player, crashed the net, and then waited out Shesterkin and stretched past him. What a goal by him. And can we say of Evgeny Kuznetsov, have yourself a playoffs, man. 4 goals. And the game winner off that juicy rebound from a Brady Shea shot. Whew, that was a nice goal by Evgeny. That was very nice.
Yes, Jordo is not the most outspoken, but you've also heard the guys multiple times, Rod and the guys, say what he says in the locker room matters to them. You don't get that.
He puts in the work.
He gets better every day. Us as fans, we don't see that back there. So maybe he's not talking to the camera and saying the stuff you want to hear. You're not his intended audience. His audience is the guys in the locker room. That's who he cares about. He's not a flashy, showy person. He's going to say what he wants to them, and to you, he's going to give you maybe the run-of-the-mill answers, and maybe it's going to be very flat. Maybe it's going to be the very short, quick, whatever. You're not his intended audience. He's not. Yes, he's our captain, but he is foremost their captain, and we are here to support them. So that's my thoughts on that. Unfortunately, we did fall in game 6, and it was even more annoying because we were up 3-1 after
Another
such a strong start.
another Seth Jarvis power play goal that
Wasted.
unfortunately, did not go to the when Seth Jarvis scores a goal, this game the Hurricanes win. Thank you, Kane Stabrun, for keeping that alive. But yeah, that was Chris Kreider. I mean, gotta give credit to Chris Kreider, man. His only power play hat trick was in game 6, and it was a natural hattie too. Nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do about that. It's just unfortunate how it ended, and Barkley Goodrow with the dagger. I honestly those 4 shots off the post to start the third period. I tweeted out last night, and I said it on. I think I said it on Locked On. I can't remember because I recorded that like at midnight because it took me forever to get that thing started because emotions. Mm-hmm. It's just those 4 posts came back like the boogeyman and haunted the Hurricanes, and that's going to haunt them for the offseason because you're talking 4 chances where you could have just straight up ended it.
I will say the one thing I didn't like about the game last night is yes that first one from Carter to make it 3-2. Yes, that one was it shouldn't have gone in. It came in at like a weird angle. It got sneaked in between Freddie thought he had it.
Two Kreider goals. 2 of his goals should not have gone in.
So squeaked in.
Mm-hmm.
Do I fully agree? I'll stand on this hill. Okay, that game there was surprisingly, as you said, there was multiple things called in the first couple of games. Last night's game, not that many things were called. They were holding their whistles for a lot. Mm-hmm. Do I think that cross check from Stahl should have been called? No. Am I saying it's not a cross check? No, I'm not saying that.
The TNT guys were saying. The commentator said it wasn't a cross check. They said it wasn't a cross check. They said at most that's a shove. That was not a cross check. And I said it honestly. I could see it being a wash of the delay of game. That should have been a delay of game on Brady Shea. They said it wasn't when you saw the replay. It was. Got away with it. There's your makeup call. Cross check. There's your shove.
They didn't show us the replay of Brady's, so I couldn't see it. I thought it deflected, but
no, on TNT it was clearly it didn't touch Lafreniere stick at all. It actually went out on Brady Shea, so it was a penalty. And then, like I said, the TNT guys said that's a shove, was not a cross check. But
and that's the thing is, you know what? You miss a call, so what? Don't make up something because you're telling us that. As Canes fans telling us that's a cross check when I've been sitting in front of the Canes and we shoot twice, watching them do that same thing to our players behind Igor is disgusting. Like, for you to call that after you haven't called that particular call all game, stupid. Beyond stupid. Like, you can tell me it's a makeup call to make sense, but it's still stupid. Beyond stupid.
I'm just saying that's
no. I'm not saying you. I'm saying in general. If you're saying that's probably why they called it, that's why everyone hates the officials, honestly, because it's like why.
It's not saying it is a makeup call. It's a possibility because of the delay of game thing. It's just who really knows.
Possibility, but we all know. We all know that.
Like, hey, you know what though? Like I said, and I've said it last time. I'm just gonna say it again. Credit to the Rangers, man. They took advantage of it when they did, and there you go, Chris Kreider. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and bash them. It's just you got to give credit where credit's due.
They capitalized when they needed to capitalize. They are a good team. They won the Presidents for a reason.
And the Metro.
Yep, they won that for a reason. They are a good team. They have good goaltending. They have two very good players.
And a lot of people are going to talk about the playoff format. Like, there's no way this should have been this. There's no way this should have been a second round matchup. This should have been a conference final matchup if we were back to the 1 through 8. But either way, it was a great series between 2 great teams. You saw what it was, and it's just unfortunately 4 goals in that 4 goals last night in the third period didn't help.
Yes, and I will say on the fact even more so than last year. You say last year you're only losing those games by one. You didn't feel like it was a full sweep. I do think we got more outplayed last year than we did this year. I do think this year could easily have gone either way on some of the bounces because there are definitely times where we could have taken more advantage, and we definitely the beginning. So the 4-1 win and this one, like we felt like we got the bounces back. We were starting to get them back, and it felt like that at the beginning of the sixth game, and then you don't towards the end. So
I'll say this. I said it after game 3. I said the series wasn't over. Just go 1-0 every day, and a lot of people, deservingly so, were upset. They're like, the series is over. Doesn't matter. They're done in game 4. One game 4, one game 5. And I gotta give credit to the Hurricanes, man. No quit. They didn't quit. They didn't roll over. They're like, oh, well, we're down 3-0. Pack it in. We're done. No, they fought back. They forced it to game 6. They got you back to Raleigh, last night. And unfortunately, you're up 3-1 and you give up 4 in the third period. And that's probably a more gut-wrenching, heartbreaking loss. I know some people are saying, oh, it's the worst loss in franchise history. That's a hyperbole. There's a lot more losses worse than that one. It just stinks than that. But I'll give credit to the Canes. They came back. They fought hard. They got us a series, and I love the fact that we just all started going on the Ted Lasso believe.
Yeah, I love that. I do love. I love everyone's support was really good at the end. I know we're frustrated. I know we're a little sad, more than a little, because your season's over, and it was a season where it felt like you had gotten over the hurdle. Because they did what the goaltending was there. They did what you guys wanted them to do at the deadline. They finally picked up the players. The players stood up. I do think
Jake and Kuzi, great pickups.
Last
great
year
pickups by those guys.
You get Svetch out, and it hurts. That sucked. And thankfully, we got Svetch back this time. And then it's how playoffs go. Thankfully, we didn't have a lot of other injuries. I think Ginsel and KK went with the doctor after the game last night. So we don't know yet if they were struggling with anything. But you do know we were without Faust and we were without Pesci. You're missing a depth player with Faust who could have come in anywhere. And his pestering presence would have been great. This is another one, and I know I've said this point multiple times. Pesci is a bigger piece than you realize. So I know this wasn't his best season. Honestly, I think it's hard to play your best season when you have contract talks surrounding you, talking about your team's going to trade you, all of this nonstop. I would feel like a team that you've grown up playing with, and that's like your home team, feeling like they might not want me anymore through all the media talk. I would say that could get to you mentally. I feel like it could. So maybe it's not his best season. You know what, though? Brady Shea had a season. And so we're all like, you know what? We're probably coming up with who we have to get rid of and everything. Maybe it's Shea that stays at this point. It seemed like it was going to be Pesci. Maybe it's going to be Shea that stays. I think playoffs change that narrative a little bit. You saw what Brady Shea is without Brett Pesci. And I'm not saying that's worse on Shea. I'm saying offensive defensemen shine better when they have a very reliable defensive partner. It's the Jacob Slavin effect, and you're seeing it. Brett Pesci is just the same.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we'll go over this a lot more throughout because we have a lot of stuff to go through in the off season because we're still like months away from the draft. Also, the free agency / re-sign phase doesn't start until July 1st, so we still got a month and a half until then too. So I mean, we're going to be talking about what ifs and predictions and all that stuff, and also the extra interviews when they come out too. So yeah, there's a lot for us to go over. That's for sure. But yeah, I just wish we just had one playoff where we had the full squad. It sucks we lost Foss right before, like the last game. It was the last game of the season. You lose him, and then you lose Pesci in game 2, and what could have, should have, what would have happened, but. Playoffs, man. Everyone gets hurt, and unfortunately, you got to do what you got to do. And like heck, the Canucks are down to their third string goalie at this point. It just sucks.
So, as we wrap up this episode, we're gonna have obviously again. There's gonna be more. There's gonna be a lot to talk about because I will leave you with this thought. I know a lot of it can be disappointing, frustrating, whatever, and you start playing, like we said, with the goalies, with the coach. You might start playing the blame game a little bit. I would hold off and just relish in what memories you have from the season, because next season you're gonna have a very different squad. It's gonna be much. I feel like it's gonna be more different than any of us really want. They work magic with the Monopoly money. I'll give them that.
Well,
My fear in the off season is what is going to change, because no one likes change.
Yeah, I mean, even with the cap going up too, there's going to be there's a lot of questions, a lot of decisions that need to be made, because you got some RFAs that you need to resign. Seth Jarvis being one of them. You don't know what's going to happen with Martin Necas, and then you got a boatload of UFAs you got to worry about.
Also, before you post one more post, whoever you are, if you're someone that's posting, well, maybe the time for Rod is up in Carolina.
Stop.
I need you to think about two things. Think about what that man has done. Think about what he's done in a shorter period than the coach before him. And I need you to think about, if you're saying, Rod, his time is up, he hasn't done anything. Okay, think about how much the rest of the league wants him. The rest of the league, literally, Toronto has been acting like they have signed him. The rest of the league wants him. And then think about, who would you get instead? When you have the rest of the league firing coaches left and right, why would you want someone that another team has fired because they didn't perform, when Rod has been performing to the point where other people want him?
Yeah, because you're talking Craig Berube, you're talking, Todd McClellan, a lot of guys who've been with multiple teams. I mean, Lindy Ruff is going back to the Sabres for a second time already. And plus, before Rod, the Hurricanes made the playoffs 5 times in their franchise history. The last 6 years, the Hurricanes have made the playoffs 6 straight years and have won 6 straight first rounds. Yes, it's not the ultimate goal. That's not the goal. Oh, we got out of the first round. Do you want to win the cup? Yes. But you're talking multiple division titles, multiple playoff appearances, and multiple first rounds that you've won.
We know we all want more. Rod wants more.
Yeah.
But starting with a new coach probably isn't going to get you to that.
A lot of guys
not right away.
A lot of guys are staying because of Rod. Brendan Lemieux literally stayed with the Hurricanes because he liked being here, and he was a healthy scratch for most of the season. He could have gone somewhere else, but he said, no, I like being here. I like the culture here. It starts with Rod.
Burns waived his no trade clause to come here. There's so many. It's fine. Yeah. You know what? If you need to voice your anger and voice out your frustration, that's fine. I'm tasking you with, tell me an alternative. If you really feel that way, tell me an alternative. Because I'd love to hear it. Because I want to live in a Delulu land at one point too.
As Mike and Shane always said, if you have an alternative to a certain trade or who you want to get, send us what your thoughts are, and maybe make it make sense.
Because I haven't seen solutions. I've only seen saying maybe move on from it, but I haven't actually seen what you guys would move on to. So if you feel that strongly, please tell me. Please tell me. But anyway, so that'll be it for this episode. I know we have a whole lot more to cover, but we do have a couple of things we have to get to in our personal lives. And honestly, I've talked with Zach about this. We're going to take a little hiatus. I know we didn't come to you as often in this playoffs as normal. We are down a co-host, and honestly, we were just very busy this playoffs. So we will probably be coming back to you in June. So we'll be taking a 2-ish week hiatus. Unless there's breaking news, we might come to you real quick with something. But we'll be coming back to you in June with more. You know what? We just want to revel in the season. We don't want to talk about all the what ifs, who's leaving, what's changing. We don't want to talk about that now because we're honestly
we have all off season. We got
sad. We don't want to think about that right now.
We got all off season to worry about that. Yeah, like Kat said, it's gonna be a couple weeks because it's the 17th right now. You'll hear this later this afternoon, so it's the same day this will be dropped. At most, you're probably looking at maybe June 7th, which is 3 weeks from now. And like Kat said, unless a breaking news things happen, obviously we're probably gonna have exit interviews in between now and June, but we'll talk about most like the first episode we get back from our little break is going to be talking about the exit interviews, which will probably happen sometime in the next couple weeks. But yeah, we're not going anywhere. Nothing's changing. It's just we're taking a quick little break because there's a lot of stuff coming up that we're both going to be busy on and stuff like that. And of course, Kat's got her thing going on. I got, you're still going to see me on Lockdown. You're still going to see me dropping articles at the Hockey Writers. I know, Kat, yes, I write about hockey. Ha, ha, ha. But either way, yeah, it's just like Kat said. We're just taking a quick break here. SurgeCast isn't going anywhere. It's just, we're going to revel in the season. We're going to revel in the season. Just,
Yeah, revel in the season. Just take a moment. Actually get to do other things outside of hockey a little bit.
A little bit,
but I mean, you'll see us some on Twitter, of course, still. But of course, in this meantime, while you're taking a little break from us, we got to tell you, we have to shout out to SeatGeek for sponsoring us, as we're ambassadors for them. We do highly check them out. They are a ticketing app that takes confusion out of buying tickets. They are a 0 to 10 score on each ticket to know if you're getting a good or a bad deal. Of course, you also see green is good, red is bad. And you can get $20 off if you use the code thesurgecast. I'm not gonna lie, a lot of my friends use that to get some playoffs tickets recently, and it helps. I mean, it takes off some of those extra little processing and tax fees. So highly recommend checking them out if you're just really wanting to get to any concerts or anything going on. Maybe you're gonna go see another hockey game, one of the other teams. Highly recommend checking out SeatGeek. Again, thank you to them for sponsoring us. And if you want to get out and do some other fun hockey things and go visit another fun hockey place, I think there's another local place they can check out, right, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, if you go check out Primo X Hockey, it's a local business right there in Raleigh, about 10, 15 minutes from the arena, and they're also season ticket members here, helping support fellow caniacs. So if you go to 1401 Diggs Drive, check out their warehouse, check out their store. They got a boatload of stuff. They got new sticks came in. They got a bunch of new helmets you can go check out too. They have, stick protectors, rollerblade wheels if you want to play outside. They got a skate sharpener. They got koozies, flags, hats, everything you can think of. They're right there. Like I said, they're super, super close. Help support local, shop local. If you're not able to go, they do have a website. If you go to primoxhockey.com, if you use code SurgeCast at checkout, you get your Sebastian Aho 20% off discount as well. And they also do free online shipping as well. So make sure to check them out. And if you do go to the store, let them know that, we sent you, and maybe they'll help you out with some great deals if they have any, or just be able to help you in general, because they're a great local place that really supports the team and really has great hockey equipment. They're amazing people. Gotta love all those guys over there at Primo X Hockey. And they've been with us for almost 100, I think over 120 episodes now. So big shout out to them for being here since day one. So like I said, just primoxhockey.com, 1401 Diggs Drive if you're in the area. So go check them out. And remember, SurgeCast, 20% off discount, because you cannot go wrong with the Sebastian Aho discount.
$20, 20%, all of it's great. So, but for now, of course, you can find me on Twitter at caniacchic or on TikTok at KVTHunter74. And Zach, where can they find you in the meantime?
Yeah, well, before they can go find me, you got to make sure to check out the SurgeCast. We're on X, Instagram, YouTube, all at the SurgeCast. Yeah, pretty simple and easy, thank goodness. We do have a link tree on our socials if you want to go see where to find the other social accounts and where to watch the episode and stuff like that. If you're on YouTube, make sure to hit subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss an episode here if you do like watching our faces talk about the Carolina Hurricanes. And make sure to hit the thumbs up button, share, all the good stuff as well, because we definitely want to try to get more of the YouTube side of things. Big shout out to our people behind the scenes. Been absolutely killing it in terms of just the social presence on a lot more Twitter posts, a lot more Instagram stuff, and also, the great graphics over here for thumbnails and stuff on the YouTube side of things. So make sure to go check that out. If you want to follow me, I'm at onetruezach on X. If you click the link tree in my bio, you can find out where you can find all my articles at the Hockey Writers and all the newsletters and premium content. I got it going there. Just dropped a new series on Hockey Writers for the Substacks for looking at more of beyond the score sheet type stuff. How guys are contributing outside of just putting points up. You also find all my articles at the Calder Times, going over AHL type stuff, and then where you can watch and listen to this podcast along with all my stuff over at Locked On Hurricanes as well. But yeah, I think that kind of wraps up our playoff content already a lot sooner than we thought of, and hopefully didn't do it early. But you know what, hockey, it is what it is. But you know
That's how it goes.
Yeah, but
I
like
mean,
you said, yeah,
we unfortunately down 3-0. You get to come back to 3-2.
Give us
There's
hope.
a lot of other good. There's a lot of other. Yeah, gave us hope. There's a lot of other good teams in the playoffs. Also found themselves down 3-1. Are also fighting for their lives. So, I mean, if you're so craving some hockey, go. There's still the rest of the playoffs. I mean, go put it in perspective. The Canes put up a battle. There's a lot of good teams, and there's also a lot of good teams that lose.
Who are you going for, Kat, in the to win the cup?
Yeah, to finish this off, I will probably. I have a feeling Florida is going to be the one that pulls out of the Atlantic, and I kind of. Unfortunately, I feel like I'm going to be rooting for Florida. I can't root for the Rangers. Sorry, not sorry. So probably that, and then overall the West. I feel like the West is going to be where I'm rooting for again. It just always feels like you can't root for someone over on the East after your team gets out. I'm thinking the Stars. I know you're going Canucks, but I'm thinking the Stars. They're having after their little comeback. I think they're probably firing on all cylinders. They've got goaltending, they've got scoring, they've got some good defense. Like they're a pretty well-rounded team.
Yeah, no, totally fair. I mean, I was it was tough because I was picking between the Stars or the Canucks, and just for me, I think I just went Canucks because you got Di Giuseppe, former Hurricane on there, former Hurricane Elias Lindholm's over there too, and me originally being from Northeast Ohio, got East Palestine, Ohio native JT Miller over there as well, who actually scored the game winner for the Canucks last night to make them go up 3-2 in their series against the Oilers. So, and that was about 40, like a half hour, 45 minutes from where I live. So gotta go with kind of more of the local guy. And plus his birthday's close to mine. March 14th, I'm the 20th. So we're kind of within each other. So yeah, I gotta go with the local guy and former Hurricanes. And there's a former Hurricane on that team, but I'm not gonna talk about him and I'm not gonna support him. Everyone else, yes. So I hope Elias gets it. I hope he gets his ring. I hope JT does too, and Thatcher and Casey DeSmith and everyone else. So yeah, I'm kind of hitching the wagon to the Canucks and seeing what they can do. And I think if they do, I think that's the first cup for a Canadian team since 1993. So I don't know, maybe we might be due, but yeah. So there you go, everyone. And our social media guy, if you want to make a post for it, there you go. Cat's going Stars. I'm going Canucks to win the 2024 Stanley Cup. So, but yeah, Kat, I think this kind of just wraps up our episode. And thank you to everyone who's been supporting us this year. I know it's been an up and down road and stuff like that. And like I said, we're not going anywhere. Just taking a quick little break. We'll be back in June for X interviews, and then it's kind of start rolling into a lot of
speculations, all of those fun things. But in the meantime, revel in the season. Enjoy time with your family. Happy Memorial Day, and we will see you in a couple weeks. But that's it for the SurgeCast. As always, cause chaos. Let's go Canes. I'm Kat.
I'm Zach.
See you later, guys.
Bye.